off of Charlie Sam's mask. Count goes to 1-1. Obviously, we're still at that point in the year where you give offensive numbers and you got to take them all with a grain of salt. We're just 4 games into the season. Still learning a whole lot about what these squads are respectively all about. 1 ball and 1 strike to Bauer. And this one's lifted, but foul into the visitors' bullpen. And count goes to 1-2. Klein Field at Sunken Diamond. Ready for its close-up today. 335 down the lines, 375 to the alleys, and 400 to straightaway center. Beautiful day. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bit high. Scott was hoping for the call as he kind of took that little bit of a mini hop off the mound, but no. High in the zone, 2-2. Pitch from Scott. Makes contact, but is in front of it. The ball just spins and dies off to the right. Count stays at 2-2. Scott last week, the opening day starter for Stanford against the Cal State Fullerton Titans, went 5 1/3. Gave it just 4 hits, 1 run was earned. Walked 2 and struck out 4. Got the win. Part of a 13-1 opener in 7 innings for the Cardinal over the Titans. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That's high in the count full. Stanford won the second game 6-3 in relatively standard fashion, but had to come back to win the last 2. Down early, but came back to win 14-11 in game 3. And a dramatic extra inning affair. Stanford won that one 9-7. Swing and a miss, strike 3, as Bauer goes down on strikes. 1 of 2 Ks for Matt Scott in the top half of the first. Washington 0, and Stanford coming to bat. We'll return to Sunken Diamond in just a moment. Bottom of the first of a scoreless game, the home opener for Stanford as the Cardinal hosts the Washington Huskies. Let's look at a reminder of the Stanford batting order. Haskins, Marsh, Sasaki, Sam, Nadai, Reynolds, Becerra, Bates, and Lavin. Defensively for the Huskies, in the outfield from left to right, A.J. Guerrero, Jackson Hotchkiss, and Cooper Witten. Around the horn, Trevor Cole, Sam DiCarlo, Blake Wilson, and Kaysen Taggart. Colton Bauer behind the dish, and on the mound is Max Banks. Banks, a senior from San Francisco, transfer from Chapman University. Banks threw 6 shutout innings last week in his debut, but Haskins sends this one way back to left, back, track, wall, and gone. Trevor Haskins goes deep, and the Cardinal are back in Sunken Diamond with a bang. Home run, Haskins. Well, after breaking out the bats in a big way last week against Cal State Fullerton, when they wrapped out 55 hits and scored a bevy of runs against the Titans, I know we've only just seen 1 pitch, but already Stanford showing no signs of slowing down. And Tatum Marsh is a big reason why Stanford performed so well at the plate last week against the Titans. He looks at strike 1 from Banks. Marsh, freshman from San Jose. And he was magnificent in all 4 games against the Titans last week. The 0-1 from Banks, her ball nubbed, but stays fair, and the throw down to first is in time for the out. Marsh actually slugged 1,000 last week. 7 base hits, drove in 5 more. We'll see a lot more of him going forward. One of several freshmen on the squad making an early impact. Here's another one Here we go. Rintaro Sasaki, the freshman from Japan, coming off of a magnificent performance of his own last week against Cal State Fullerton. He had 389 in the series against the Titans, wrapped out 7 hits, drove in 8 runs. Pops this one up, playable, coming in Taggart from first, settles under it, and makes the catch just in foul ground, two gone. So that brings up Charlie Som. Som, the senior from Thousand Oaks. Hit 294 last week. Already has a team-high 3 doubles, including smacking a couple of them in the season opener against Cal State Fullerton last Saturday. First pitch from Banks. Skips off of Bauer's glove for ball 1. Stanford was supposed to have its season opener last Friday down at Cal State Fullerton, but Mother Nature had different ideas. So Stanford ended up playing 2 last Saturday. 1 ball, no strikes. Som thinks about it and takes it. Goes down low, 2-0. Banks threw 6 shutout innings against Kansas State a week ago today. We won't have a shutout here tonight. The 2-0. And now the count 3-0 on Som with that fastball down low. Banks struck out 9 and walked 2 in the win over the Wildcats. The 3-0 to Som. Thinks about it, holds up his swing, and Som walks on 4 pitches. Brings up Jimmy Natai, the junior from Sydney, Australia, as if you couldn't tell from the Men at Work walk-up music. Natai last year with 22 doubles to lead Stanford. Hit a solo home run against the Huskies on March 9th of last year, part of that series up in Seattle last March. First pitch from Banks to Natai, misses down low for ball 1. Natai hitting .367. Has driven in 4. Has struck out 5 times. Som at first. As Natai swings through that pitch, and the count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. Huskies participated in the Baseball at the Beach tournament last week. That sounds nice. In Conway, South Carolina. Beat Kansas State, held off St. Joseph's, and in between lost to St. Joseph's and Coastal Carolina, who was hosting the event. In foul ground, Taggart makes the grab in the ample foul territory here at Sunken Diamond, and the side is retired. But on the very first pitch he saw, Trevor Haskins gave Stanford the lead. The solo shot into the trees in left field gives Stanford a 1-0 lead after 1. 4, 5, 6 due up for the Huskies at Stanford, 1-0 after 1 inning of play. The first of 4 games in this series, with the next games to be played over the next few days. Game 2 on Saturday, Game 3 on Sunday, and yes, a 4th game on Monday. Saturday start at 2:05 p.m. Pacific. Sunday and Monday, we'll see you right here at 1:05 p.m. Pacific on ACC Network Extra. Great to have you with us, whether you're watching here in Northern California or up in the Pacific Northwest, or from wherever you may be checking us out. Kason Taggart leading things off for the Huskies, the only lefty in the starting batting order for Washington. Looks at strike 1. Taggart, a senior from Everett. He also transferred from Washington State, as did Colton Bauer. Pat Chun, the UW athletic director, you could also consider him a transfer from Washington State if you like as well. Taggart batting .303, homered twice last week, drove in 5. Currently leads the Huskies in both of those categories, along with 10 total bases. 1 ball and 1 strike. High chopper, Sasaki gobbles it up, shovels it over to Scott, and time for the out. Well handled by Sasaki. And just a nice little shovel to Scott to finish it off. Well, here comes the most impressive bat for the Huskies so far in the early portion of the season. Just 1 week in, it's Trevor Cole, who wrapped out a team-high 6 hits at the Baseball at the Beach tournament last week. Cole, a grad transfer originally from Boca Raton, comes to UW from FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast. First pitch is a fastball high and in for ball 1 to Cole. So Cole hitting .429, an on-base percentage of .556, also slugging .643. But 1-0. Hit in the air to center. Bates back, makes the leaping grab just shy of the track. Well, Bates was shaded just a couple of steps towards right, so he had a long way to go to get there. He was able to head towards the furthest reaches and make the running, reaching grab just shy of the track. 2 away. Jackson Hotchkiss, the batter, the freshman from Battleground, Washington. Jackson with an RBI single against Kansas State on Friday. Looks at strike 1, that slider on the corner. Hotchkiss just 2 for 15 overall last week. Reaches out, fouls that one off, and he's down quickly, 0-2. Jackson was actually taken by the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 18th round of last year's MLB draft. I said, no, I'm cool. I'm going to Montlake instead. No balls, 2 strikes. Backhanded by Sam. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Hotchkiss. Facing off against Matt Scott, Stanford ace. A 1-2. Tried to paint the corner, but I think he also missed low as well. 2-2. Two balls and 2 strikes. Chopper, Becerra, the throw. Gobbled up by Sasaki, and the side is retired. An impressive running catch by Bates in center, and a couple of nifty plays by the Stanford infield. 3 up, 3 down. Cardinal still up 1-0 after 1.5. Bottom second begins with Brady Reynolds striding to the plate for the Stanford Cardinal, who are up 1-0, thanks to a solo shot by Trevor Haskins, the leadoff home run. Reynolds, a sophomore from Bakersfield. And what a week he had last week down in Orange County. Reynolds right now batting .412, 2 home runs, and 8 driven in. Team high 14 total bases. He looks at the first pitch missed down low from Max Banks. Reynolds with not just quantity hits, but quality hits too. As he came up in clutch situations. As Banks misses a bit low again, 2-0 to Reynolds. Reynolds in the series finale against the Titans, a 2-run shot in the top of the 9th that cut the Titans' lead to 7-5. Stanford scored a couple more to tie it in the 9th and then won in extras. As Reynolds launches this one, well foul. Count goes to 2-1. Stanford wasting a little time this season. Putting 55 runs, or check that, 55 hits. There's a swing and a miss on the off-speeder from Banks. Count goes to 2-1. It's going 42 runs in 4 games. Stanford last year in the Pac-12, the final year of the Pac-12, offensively finished around middle of the pack in most categories. Pitch up high, full count to Reynolds. Stanford 283 as a team in batting average last year. That was 5th in the Pac-12. Hit 55 home runs for 275. Now in the upper tier there. Payoff pitch to Reynolds. Fouled off. Count stays at 3-2. So offense was around middle of the pack, pun somewhat intended, for Stanford last year. The problems were on the mound. As Stanford finished next to last in team ERA, team WHIP, and team strikeout to walk ratio. Fouled off again. Hard to win games consistently when the pitching staff is putting up numbers like that. It seemed last year like so many times Stanford pitchers would issue walks in critical situations and have it come back to bite them. 3-2 pitch once again. Got him looking. Nifty breaking ball by Banks. Gets by Brady. And that's Banks' first strikeout of the afternoon. He had 9 last week against Kansas State. Here's Timo Becerra, senior from Clovis, California. Becerra with 6 hits last week out of 14 at-bats. Also drove in 6 runs. Looks at the high strike called here. 0-1. Timo enters this series on a 14-game hit streak. That stretches back to last year. Hitting .333 during that span, the 0-1. In the air, shallow right. Witten comes in a few steps and makes the catch for out number 2. Brings up Charlie Bates. Bates, a freshman from Palo Alto, California. Went to high school literally across the street, Palo Alto High. And Bates, just 2 of 17 last weekend. Certainly the coaching staff very high on this young man. He's very well decorated in his career. Already making the Baseball America preseason top 25 freshman list, sitting at number 16. 1 ball and no strikes from Banks to Bates. Banks stays outside 2-0. Bates, born at Stanford Hospital. Just on the other side of campus here, the 2-0. In front of this one, cranks it, fouled it off of his foot. Count goes to 2-1. So Bates, Marsh, and Sasaki, the 3 freshmen that are getting looks in the starting lineup early on in the season. The 2-1. Tag to high to center field, going back is Hotchkiss. He turns, and it is off the base of the wall. Bates races for third, and he's in. So Charlie Bates has 2 triples already in 4+ games worth of work. And that extends the inning here. Boy, Hotchkiss was at top speed trying to sprint back to the fence to get there. Cooper Witten and Wright was there as well, and the ball just landed. I believe Witten had the better chance at it. So now that brings up Luke Lavin, sophomore from Laguna Beach. Lavin, the DH, 4 for 6 last week overall. And drove in a run along the way, and actually his single in the top of the 9th on Monday sustained the rally after Stanford had made it 7-5 in the top of the 9th, and then Lavin got the go-ahead RBI single in the top of the 10th inning. Looks at ball 1 here. Card up 1-0. Trevor Haskins a solo home run. Luke Lavin would love to add to that here after the triple by Bates. The 1-0. Pulls this one to second, and the throw over the first is in time for the out. A towering triple by Charlie Bates, but Bates is stranded there. Stanford ahead 1-0 over UW after 2 innings of play. Great to have you with us here as we begin the third inning on ACC Network Extra between Stanford and Washington. Two old Pac-12 foes battling it out in an ACC Big Ten matchup now. Bottom of the order for the Huskies due up here. The 7, 8, 9 batters beginning with Cooper Witten, junior from San Diego. Facing off against Matt Scott, who deals the fastball. High strike called. 0-1. Witten hitting 154 so far on the season. Drove in 3 last week, but also struck out 5 times. The 0-1 ahead of that one. Swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes to Witten. Young man from San Diego, Santa Fe High School. Had a full day on March 10th last year against the Cardinal. Went 2 for 3 with a couple of walks and a couple stolen bases. No balls and 2 strikes. That pitch goes upstairs for ball 1. I look at a line like that and I have flashbacks to kind of like Eric Burns and what he did back during his UCLA days back in the late 90s against Stanford. He just terrorized the Cardinal back in those days. Funny guy, though. 1 ball and 2 strikes, the pitch. Fastball, swing and a miss, strike 3. Somm retrieves and throws to first in time for the putout. Strikeout number 3 for Matt Scott. And the Husky is yet to reach so far. This is the 8th batter that Scott will face, and it's Carson Crawford, who is making his 2025 debut. The senior from Rohnert Park, right here in Northern California. As the first pitch to Crawford goes around. Might have been fooled there a little bit. Strike 1. Crawford, not just from Rohnert Park, which is about, 80 miles north of here on 101. You'll get there in about maybe 2 hours or so, depending on how traffic is. Also a transfer from Cal. Swing and a miss on the fastball. 0-2. Crawford actually hit a grand slam for Cal here in this building 2 years ago on February 21st. So, hey, exactly 2 years ago today that Crawford hit a grand slam for Cal against Stanford. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. And Crawford is the 4th K of the day for Scott. Scott filling up the zone here early. And now Blake Wilson will try to give it a go against Scott. Wilson, a sophomore from Trabuco Canyon, California. Wilson 0 for 8 on the season so far with 4 strikeouts. High hop, gloved by Haskins. The throw to first, got him. Trevor Haskins flashing the glove and retiring the side here in the top of the 3rd. 1-0, Stanford leading the Huskies. Top of the 3rd ended with a terrific defensive play by Trevor Haskins at the hot corner. Bottom of the 3rd begins with Haskins striding up to the plate. His last plate of clearance took just 1 pitch, and he put that one into the trees over the left field fence to give Stanford its 1-0 lead. Max Banks hoping for better this time around against Haskins. Looks at the first pitch, breaking ball on the inside corner, called strike 1. Took Banks 27 pitches to get through the order the first time around. Gave up the triple to Bates and walked some, but that's it. Ball and 2 strikes. Fastball. Swing and a miss. 0-2 now the count to Haskins. Banks, a transfer from Chapman University out of Division III. Chapman University down in Orange, California. The 0-2 just misses a little bit high. And a little bit outside as well. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bauer tried to frame it, but Dowdy wasn't fooled. Banks is also a local kid here in the Bay Area. Stewart Hall High School up in San Francisco. And Hoskins goes down and gets this one. Drops it down in left center field. And now he has a double to go along with his home run. Haskins with a hot bat early. Here comes Tatum Marsh. Marsh grounded back to the catcher in his first plate appearance back in the first inning. With Haskins at second. Marsh shows bunt, goes around, strike 1. Marsh, 3-time All-Section, 3-time All-League at Valley Christian High School down in San Jose. The 0-1. Fastball. Marsh tries to go up and get it, doesn't connect. Tatum, talking to David Esker, said that Tatum performed very well in January practices and has made it hard not to play him. The 0-2. Bounces, Bauer able to retrieve it. Haskins is staying put at second. And certainly Marsh rewarding the coaching staff with the 7 hits that he was able to record last week in the 4-game series against the Titans, including a go-ahead 3-run home run on Sunday, the first home run of his college career. Swings and misses here for strike 3. Strikeout number 2 for Banks. And that brings up Rintaro Sasaki. Sasaki's first appearance lasted just 1 pitch. Has popped up to first. Here he has Haskins at second. The first pitch goes around. Breaking ball up top. 0-1 to Sasaki. Of course, a lot of eyes are on this young man. Much ballyhooed high school career out of Japan. Could have gone to the Japanese Professional League, but instead decided to come to college. That's a breaking ball that misses low. 1-1. Sasaki decided to come to college and go that route to the major leagues. Sasaki with 140 home runs in his high school career. That's a Japanese record. A 1-1 outside, 2-1. And Japanese high school ball, a big deal. You have tournaments, you're playing in tournaments back there. We get 50,000 people in the building. 2 balls, 1 strike to Rintaro Sasaki. The pitch. Wrapped to first. Shovel to Banks, 2 away. Haskins does head over to third. Brings up Charlie Som. Som has knocked in a run in 4 straight games entering this series. He has a chance to make it 5 in a row now with Haskins at third. Som walked back in the first in his previous plate appearance. And Sam connects here, but hits a hard shot to Cole at third. Throw over the first in time for the out. The double by Haskins, who's 2 for 2 this afternoon, but Trevor left stranded at third. Stanford 1, Washington nothing after 3. Stanford fans enjoying the weather, and right now they're enjoying the scoreboard too, with the Cardinal ahead of the Huskies 1-0. Start of the 4th inning. Great to have you with us here on ACC Network Extra. Troy Clarity flying the ship solo for you here today. Kicking off another season of Stanford baseball here at Sunken Diamond. It does not get much better than this. Sam DiCarlo leading things off for the Huskies as we begin the 4th inning. Go back to the top of the UW order. So Matt's got 31 pitches to get through the first time around. But DiCarlo connects here and is the first base runner of the day for the Huskies. The single to the left. So Scott, his first time through, struck out 4 and retired all 9, but DiCarlo able to find a way to get on base to begin Scott's second tour through the Husky batting order. That brings up A.J. Guerrero. Guerrero struck out swinging in the first. First pitch is up high from Scott for ball 1. Of course, here is where the chess match begins, the adjustments from the first time through the order to the second time. Equally as important for the pitcher as it is for the batters. The 1-0. Guerrero reaches up and taps it back to the screen. 1 ball and 1 strike. Guerrero with 15 home runs last year for the Huskies. His next home run will put him in a tie for 4th in the UW record book with Jay Garthwaite, who hit 33 from 2000 to 2002. Right now, Guerrero sitting at 32 home runs in his career. So he is certainly a bat that Washington head coach Eddie Smith is very glad to have back in the lineup after Guerrero missed last week. The 1-1. Floats the curve in there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's a pretty curve by Matt Scott. One ball and 2 strikes to A.J. Guerrero with DiCarlo at first. Swing and a miss. And Guerrero goes down on strikes for the second time this afternoon. Brings up Colton Bauer, who struck out swinging to end the top of the first. Eddie Smith, the new head coach for the Washington Huskies after Jason Kelly accepted the pitching coach role for Texas A&M. Smith has had an intriguing road to get to Montlake. Thought about it, but it goes over for called strike 1. Smith, previously Utah Valley's head coach for the 3 seasons previous to this one. And Utah Valley, 2021, won just 10 games. Talking to some people around college baseball who followed Utah Valley at that time, and they said, hey, to call Utah Valley in 2021 a bad team would be putting it diplomatically. As Eddie Smith took over that program at a low point. The 0-1 slider catches the corner, 0-2. But then in Smith's first year at Utah Valley, they won 19 games. Then the year after that, they won 34 and were on the doorstep of a WAC title. Throw back over the first to keep DiCarlo in. DiCarlo has yet to try a stolen base this season. Huskies 2 for 4 on stolen bases on the year. No balls and 2 strikes to Bauer. Fouled off. Count stays at 0-2. So Smith turning around Utah Valley in a big way, making them competitive, and now he'll try to apply some things he's learned along the way, as he had previous stops before going to Utah Valley as the head coach, including 1 year as an assistant right down the road from us here, Santa Clara. He was a Bronco assistant in 2012. No balls and 2 strikes to Bauer. Misses high, 1-2. But Smith really has his forte as a hitting coach. In fact, before he took the Utah Valley gig, he was the hitting coach at LSU for a couple of seasons. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bounces. Som up with it. The throw. Got him. Charlie Som up and throwing. And DeCarlo is meat at second. Officials might take some notes. The umpires gathering, and they might compare notes here a little bit, as that was a close play at second with DeCarlo trying to slide in and beat the throw from Som. And they're going to go and take another look. As Som was up and throwing very quickly. I believe he had to block it too. I think that pitch went maybe 59 feet or so, and Som had to be right at the ready, and he was. As of right now, what stands as the second out of this inning. Adam Dowdy taking another look behind the hood. But yeah, before coming to Utah Valley, Eddie Smith was the hitting coach at LSU, which is probably like being the quarterback's coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, right? You're already got some great things at your resources there. LSU has long been a team that can break out the bats on you, can really make you hurt. And they hit, like 93 home runs in one of Eddie Smith's years there in Baton Rouge. As long as I can remember, the Tigers have broken out the bats and put up gaudy numbers. And made Baton Rouge a nightmarish place for opposing teams to go play. But Smith, certainly his work there not hurting his reputation at all before coming to Utah Valley. And even before then, as a head coach at a junior college level, his first head coaching job ever, and one of his early practices, he was super frustrated, and he was venting to the school's basketball coach. He says, "Oh, my players can't do this, my players can't do that, they can't do X, Y, and Z." And the basketball coach turned to him and said, "Hey, know your level. Remember where you are, and keep it simple." And Smith kind of took that lesson to heart. Always, teach to the level of player that you have. And at that level, certainly the lower junior college levels, you're not going to have a lot of veteran leadership, right? Guys are in and out of there very quickly. You've got roster churn, so the young players that you do have in there are already trying to figure it out, but they're surrounded by other players who are all trying to figure it out as well. So Eddie had to kind of reset himself a little bit, kind of rethink how he taught that team. It worked out for the best, and then certainly it's taught him to keep things as simple as possible going forward and to teach to his level. Call upheld at second, and DeCarlo is out there. So 2-4 on the putout. 2 outs now on the board, and the count 2-2 to Bowser. And Eddie Smith, before the season began, said, "Hey, listen, our goal is to make our players stop thinking and start hitting." Spoken like a true hitting coach. Base is empty. The 2-2. Bounces to Som, 3-2. So Smith in his first year as the head coach. 3-2. Got him looking. Strike 3 called. And Matt Scott turns to center field, gives that little hoot and a holler, and walks off the mound with his 6th strikeout of the afternoon. 1-0, Stanford leading Washington, bottom 4th in just a moment. Stanford leading Washington, game 1 of this 4-game series on a fabulously fantastic Friday afternoon on the farm. Bottom of the 4th beginning with Jimmy Natai leading things off. Natai popped up to the catcher to end the 1st inning. Lone run of the game provided by a solo home run by Trevor Haskins on the very first pitch that he saw, a leadoff home run for the Cardinals. Natai looks at the fastball upstairs from Max Banks for ball 1. Banks so far has not been able to solve Haskins, as Trevor also doubled in the 3rd. Charlie Bates with a triple, a walk to Som, but that's about it so far for Stanford offensively to this point. 2 balls and no strikes to Natai. Makes connection, but fouls that one off, cracking it down the 3rd baseline, 2-1. Stanford and Washington, 2 former Pac-12 teams, now locking horns. Doing so, representing different conferences. Stanford in the ACC, Washington in the Big Ten. And that one is hit on a hop underneath Cole's glove and into left for a base hit. So Natai aboard, 4 base hits for Stanford so far in this game. And that brings up Brady Reynolds. Reynolds struck out, looking to begin the 2nd. Reynolds with a walk-off 3-run home run to beat Washington State in April of last year. I'm sure that'll make our Husky fans who are watching this show happy. Breaking ball, a good one too. A lot of movement, goes over for a called strike 1. Stanford picked to finish 8th in the ACC preseason poll. No balls and 1 strike to Reynolds. Swing and a miss on the off-speeder. Reynolds down quickly, 0-2. Virginia picked to finish 1st in the ACC preseason poll. Washington not listed in the official Big Ten preseason poll. Conference only announced the top 6 slots. Throw back to 1st. So the Big Ten Conference only announced the top 6 slots in its official preseason poll. Oregon picked to win the 17-team league. Misses on the outside corner, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Reynolds. I did see D1Baseball.com in its Big Ten poll predicting Washington to finish 17th out of 17. Bounces, 2-2. And look, new coaching staff, a lot of question marks, new conference, folks that have probably followed the Big Ten for quite a while, but maybe not necessarily followed Washington. As that pitch goes upstairs and outside, and it's now a full count to Reynolds. But preseason polls, generally not indicative of how things tend to turn out. Go back to 1st. Safe. And I back in, just beating the throw. Stanford has tried to steal just 1 base all year. Brady Reynolds was thrown out last week. Stanford 0-1 stolen base category. 3-2. Cranked right to 1st. Throw to 2nd for 1. Back to 1st. And Reynolds is in. So that tie erased, but Reynolds safe at first. And that brings up Timo Becerra, who flew out to right. It's called a straight fielder's choice. Becerra coming to the plate. He spent this past summer in the Cape Cod League with the Conduit Kettlers. Conduit in Massachusetts. As he goes opposite field and fouls that one off. 0-1. Kind of neat to see the youngsters who get a chance to play in the Cape Cod League, get great experiences, have a bit of fun playing ball. This one's hit on a couple of hard hops to short. Shovel to second for one, throw to first in time for the out. The 6-4-3 double play finishes out the fourth inning. Stanford still ahead, 1-0. No runs, 1 hit, no errors for the Washington Huskies. 1 run, 4 hits, no errors for the Stanford Cardinals. We begin the 5th inning here at scenic Sunken Diamond. Matt Scott is allowed just 1 over the minimum. That was a single by Sam DiCarlo, who was later thrown out at second trying to steal. Kason Taggart grounded out to first to begin the 2nd. And he pops this one straight up and twisting and landing behind us somewhere. It might be headed off towards the Laird Q. Kagan Stadium behind us, the home of Stanford men's and women's soccer, as well as women's lacrosse. Lacrosse season's underway. No balls and 1 strike to Taggart. Clapped to Sasaki. Shovels to Scott. 1 away. Taro might try to take it himself, but deemed it necessary to get it to Scott to get the putout. So 2 at-bats for Taggart have both resulted in 3-1 groundouts. Trevor Cole, the batter, flew out to center in the 2nd. Cole began the season with 3 straight multi-hit games, a streak that was snapped against St. Joseph's on Monday. He looks at the first pitch strike from Matt Scott here. Few places better to be to watch college baseball than Sunken Diamond. It's about as good as it gets. On a chop, Becerra at short. Long throw, handled by Sasaki, 2 away. And after committing 5 errors during the series against the Titans last week, Stanford in the early going this weekend flashing the leather a little bit. Jackson Hotchkiss grounded to short to end the 2nd. First pitch strike. Of course, Sunken Diamond has hosted so many postseason tournaments over the years, and really, I mean, as good as it is right now here in mid to late February, 64 degrees at first pitch, it gets better. Swing and a miss, 0-2. Postseason here at Sunken Diamond, hard to beat. Stanford would love to get back there after missing the NCAAs last year. Husky Ballpark's pretty sweet too. I've called a few games up that way as well, right there on the shores of Lake Washington. That's hard to beat as well. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Of course, the UW campus right there on the western shores of Lake Washington. They call Husky Football Stadium the greatest setting in college football. Hard to argue. Fouled back. Count stays at 1-2. And the softball stadium just sandwiched, just literally scrunched in, it seems, right between the football stadium and Lake Washington. But obviously, gorgeous, gorgeous campus. Seattle, one of the great cities in America. As the 1-2 hot shot down the third baseline, fair ball. Hotchkiss on the move and in with the stand-up double. That's by far the most well-struck ball that we've seen from the Huskies to this point in this game. Just a laser down the third baseline underneath the diving Trevor Haskins. Second base hit of the day for the Huskies brings up Cooper Witten. Witten struck out to begin the third. Swing and miss on the fastball down low. Matt Scott with first pitch strikes to the last 5 batters that he has faced. And by my count, 12 overall. This is the 16th batter that he has faced. No balls and 1 strikes. Breaking ball low and outside, 1-1. Now, of course, the Huskies will face a few more familiar foes later on in their schedule. They do have a one-off against Oregon State on March 25th. Witten in front of that one. 1-2 as it's fouled off. They'll head down to UCLA in mid-April. They'll close out the regular season against USC. And the week before, they'll tangle against the Oregon Ducks. The game against Oregon State obviously will also be a non-conference affair. The 1-2 pitch with the runner at second and 2 outs. Saw him trying to find it. And Witten is safe at first. So the inning extended, runners at the corners. The tying run now 90 feet away for Carson Crawford. Crawford struck out in the third. No Washington State on the schedule, baseball-wise. That's too bad. Cougs and Huskies should play each other in every sport every year, whenever possible. That's what I think, but what do I know? Thomas Eager is the Kathy Wolf assistant coach. He is out to have a chat with Matt Scott, who has thrown 56 pitches so far in this outing. With 7 strikeouts along the way, is giving up the 2 base hits. Especially in the third, looked like he was filling up the zone quite well. 41 strikes dealt by Scott in 56 pitches of work so far. Eager's thoughts to Scott and the infield are done. Well, it's fascinating to watch Thomas Eager, the pitching coach, and the buttons that he's been pushing over the years, especially in the postseason, where so much of how you fare in the NCAA tournament, especially in the regionals, especially if you end up in the elimination bracket, hinges upon how you handle your pitching staff. And Stanford has ended up in the elimination bracket quite often over the past few years during the stretch where they made it to Omaha 3 straight times. But they were able to find their way out of there in every instance. And Eager, a big reason why. Probably a few reminders to the infield as well here. 2 outs with Crawford at the plate. Hotchkiss at third, Witten at first. Fastball low and in for a ball 1. Crawford transferred to Washington after 3 years at Cal. Hit .222 in Berkeley last year. Played in 25 games. Runner heading to second. Som hangs on to it. And lets Witten head into second. So probably the smart move there. But it does put two runners in scoring position for the Huskies. The 2-0. In front of that one, crossed him up, 2-1. Hotchkiss with the double. He's over third. Witten struck out, but reached on a wild pitch. He's at second now. The 2-1. Blocked by Som, 3-1. Blake Wilson, the Huskies' 9-hitter in the on-deck circle, should his services be needed in this frame. Three balls and one strike. The pitch. Breaking ball misses high. And that's Scott's first walk issued of the day. Loads him up for Wilson. Wilson with a ground out to third to end the third, but it was a terrific backhanded snare right along the line by Trevor Haskins. And an on-point throw over to first. Fastball in the outside corner, 0-1. Tying run at third. Go-ahead run at second. The 0-1. Low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Wilson with a pinch hit sac bunt RBI against St. Joe's on Monday. Young man who drove in 13 runs for the Huskies last year. The 1-1. Backhanded by Som, 2-1. Hotchkiss at third, Witten at second, Crawford at first. Nowhere to put Wilson. The pitch. Bounces foul. 2-2. And everybody goes back to their respective spots. Huskies' best scoring chance by far to this point in the game. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Got him looking. Called strike 3. And a big K for the big guy. Matt Scott helps the Huskies leave them loaded and preserve Stanford's 1-0 lead going to the bottom of the 5th. One nothing Stanford with the lead as we move to the bottom of the 5th inning. Charlie Bates to begin things here with special assistance from the Blue Oyster Cult. I am not mad at that choice of walk-up music. Always appreciate it when the kids are into the classics. Bates with a towering triple to center field in his first plate appearance back in the 2nd, but he was left-stranded there. First pitch from Max Banks, who has now gone 4+, misses high for ball 1. Banks has really just made one serious mistake, and that was the first pitch that he threw. As Bates pops this one foul and out of play. The count goes to 1-1. Trevor Haskins with the solo home run that, as of this moment, still stands as the difference in this game. We're seeing more and more of Charlie Bates, one of the three freshmen who have cracked the starting lineup for Stanford to begin the season. Off-speeder misses high and a little bit outside. Count goes to 2-1. And Bates can kind of move around a little bit, position-wise. They've got him in center for today. As he goes around on this one, the count goes to 2-2. But he's listed as an infielder. But David Esker said that sometimes they experimented a little bit during January practices. Hey, what if we put Charlie out there in center? Charlie puts this one into center, back, at the track, at the wall. He leaps, and he can't make the grab. Bates with another triple. Give him 3 more. Well, Bates's first triple landed just to the right of the 400 sign. This one a bit further to the left. And Jackson Hotchkiss, whenever he sees Charlie Bates coming to the plate, better be doing some extra stretches now, as Bates has sent both of his triples to the deepest parts of Sunken Diamond. So the first triple came with 2 outs. This one comes with nobody out, and it brings up Luke Lavin, grounded out to second to end the second. Lavin waits on this one and misses somewhere. 1 ball and no strikes. Side out swing there, and that one is well foul. 1-1 to Lavin. Banks from Chapman University made 6 appearances last year. 5 starts, a 1-0 record, an ERA of 3 flat. Lavin about to face a 1-2 pitch. Bates at third, blocked well by Bauer. 2-2. Banks now just over 60 pitches. Banks went 6 scoreless last week against Kansas State. The 2-2 pitch. Off the fist, Lavin just makes contact. Banks ready. And deals the 2-2. Thinks about it. The appeal to third base umpire Isaiah Sparba says Lavin held up. 3-2. That was close. Breaking balls by Banks. Payoff pitch. Misses inside. And Banks loses Lavin. And that brings up a young man who has been Max Banks' nemesis so far this afternoon. Trevor Haskins. Solo home run in the first, double in the third. Yeah, he's been like that so far in this game. And And perhaps with that in mind, Colton Bauer goes out and has a word with Banks. Banks has some size to him, 6'4", 225. First team All-League in football during his high school days up in San Francisco. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Haskins waits on this one, low one outside for ball one. Haskins, the junior. Pops this one up, center field. Hotchkiss shading over towards right center, makes the grab. Deep enough for Bates? Yes, it is. 2-0 Cardinal. So Bates scores. Sac fly RBI. Adds another run for the Cardinal. Tatum Marsh will try to keep it going. Marsh 0 for 2. The ground out and the strikeout so far today. Throw back to first, with Lavin diving back in safely. Flags in center field, now rustling around just a little bit. Looks like from right to left, maybe out to left a little bit. Lavin on the move, and this one is hit well foul by Marsh. The good news is the weather should be a lot like this for the remainder of the weekend into Monday. Weather can be a bit hit or miss here in mid-February in the Bay Area. Right now, it's on hit. On the ground on a couple hops to throw the third, throw to second for one, throw to first for the 5-4-3 double play. Easy for me to say. But Stanford does add another run, the sac fly RBI by Trevor Haskins, who has driven in both of the runs of this game so far, and the Cardinal lead the Huskies 2-0 after 5. Sun setting here at Sunken Diamond with the shadows starting to lengthen on a perfect Friday afternoon here in the Bay Area. 2-0 Stanford with the lead as we head to the top of the 6th inning. Troy Clarity here on ACC Network Extra. Great to have you here with us. First of 4. Matt Scott about to enter his 3rd time through the order. Faces Sam DiCarlo, who singled in his last plate appearance. He looks at the first pitch strike here. So twice through the order, 66 pitches for Scott. 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 hits. His 8th strikeout of the day left him loaded for the Huskies. Breaking ball low and outside, 1-1. Scott in his 3rd year on staff. A lot on his shoulders this year. The 1-1. Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Scott in his 2nd year as the Friday starter for the Cardinal. A lot of eyes are going to be on this young man as the season goes along. Between his size and his arm talent. Tries to paint the outside corner, but just misses 2-2. Scott looking for a bit more consistency to keep the walks down a bit from last year to this year. The 2-2. Got him. Swing and a missed strike 3 as DiCarlo chases. Boy, that was a pretty pitch by Matt Scott. Just fell off the table. Guerrero 0 for 2 with a couple strikeouts. Stepping up to the plate. Still perhaps trying to get back into form. This is his first game of the season. After rehabbing due to injury. And that might help him out a little bit as he wraps that one into left center. Base hit. Guerrero now 1 for 3. Colton Bauer will try to pull off a similar feat here as he comes to the plate 0 for 2 with a couple strikeouts. You love to follow in Guerrero's footsteps. And that one is roped into left field. Base hit. Guerrero hustling. And Huskies have 2 in scoring position. So Bauer with the double, following up Guerrero's single. So runners at second and third with 1 out. Kaysen Taggart 0 for 2 with a couple of groundouts to first. And Thomas Eager heading out of the dugout to confer with Scott in the infield. No action that I can tell right now in the Stanford bullpen. I will admit that my view of both bullpens really can be obscured by the light towers that are here at Sunken Diamond. Although as I say that, I see Nick Dugan heading down from the Stanford dugout over towards the bullpen. So we'll see if he picks up the pace down in the bullpen. Second game of this series tomorrow at 2:05 p.m. with the first pitch on Saturday. Probables, Christian Lim for Stanford, Riley McAdams for Washington. Boy, Lim had some fantastic moments last year on the mound for Stanford. Ended 4-6 with a 4.32 ERA. And pitched quite well against the Titans last week. 6 shutout innings. Was actually nominated for ACC Pitcher of the Week last week. All right, here we go. Taggart at the plate. Runners at second and third. Swing and a miss on the off speeder. 0-1. And time called. Time called by Washington. As the Huskies now confer. So Lim versus McAdams, the probables for tomorrow's game. Sunday's probables, Joey Volchko for Stanford and Tommy Brandenburg for Washington. Brandenburg, in his first year in college, pitched in this building when he was wearing an Oregon Ducks uniform. I didn't realize it was legal to be able to transfer from Oregon to Washington, even though Tommy has a school or two in between those two stops in Eugene and Seattle, respectively. Last time I checked, Oregon and Washington didn't quite like each other too much. Monday's probables, TBD. So join us at 1:05 p.m. on Monday for those. Back to action. Curve, high strike called, 0-2. Guerrero with the single. He's over at third. Bauer at second with a double. High again, but this time not called. Jackson Hotchkiss side as well. Doubled in the fifth. Strikes. Walked in the seventh. Comes down to him. The 1-2 ball on the outside corner. Strike one. Taggart in front of it. Stanford will be at home once
This is
again
going outside.
next weekend as well for another 4-game set when Xavier
Keenan first committed to Cal,
from Cincinnati comes to
but
town.
then flipped to Stanford
Then
along
after that,
the way.
off we go with ACC
He also turned down
play.
the
How about
MLB
that? Getting
draft.
shoved
Some
into
had
the
it
pool
going
early.
in the top
The
3
ACC
rounds
opener
coming
at
out of high
North
school.
Carolina on March
1-1.
7th. So not a whole lot of run-up time.
Robert Hansen, the first base umpire, says nope. He held up 2-1. Shadows lengthening, creeping across Klein Field here at
1-2
Sunken
pitch.
Diamond.
Blocked by Solomon.
2-1.
Stays put 2-2.
Now 2-2. Huskies down to their last strike.
Huskies also begin conference play. They head out to the Lincoln to face Nebraska on March 7th. So not a whole lot of run-up time for them either. The 2-2 pitch from Matt Scott.
The 2-2 pitch.
Chopped foul.
Breaking ball. Misses low.
Count stays at 2-2. Scott over
Cooper Witten
75
on deck
pitches.
should his services be needed. The payoff pitch. Hit to center. Bates with a beat on it. He makes the catch. And that's your ball game. Trevor Haskins with the home run to start it. And then defense and pitching from there to end it. And the Cardinal beat the Washington Huskies. The final score, Stanford 2, Washington 0. Stanford is now 5-0 to begin the 2025 campaign. The Huskies fall to 2-3. Stanford stars include Trevor Haskins, the solo home run on the very first pitch that he saw, the leadoff shot in the bottom of the first, putting Stanford ahead as it turned out to stay 1-0 at that point. Then Haskins with the sac fly RBI in the bottom half of the 5th inning, driving in Charlie Bates, who tripled twice and also hit a double as well. But that sac fly RBI and the solo home run by Haskins, the only 2 runs that Stanford needed this afternoon. As Matt Scott pitched quite well for himself, 6 shutout innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. Ty Huber with 3 strikeouts and 2 innings of work out of the bullpen, and Aiden Keenan comes in and closes it down for his second save of the season. So Haskins, Bates, along with Scott and Keenan, helping to lead the way for the Cardinal in victory here against the Washington Huskies. Game 2 of this series will happen tomorrow on Saturday, right here on ACC Network Extra, 2:05 p.m. Pacific time, first pitch between Stanford and Washington, with your probables Riley McAdams for the Huskies and Christian Lim for the Stanford Cardinal. Good to see Stanford versus Washington renewing hostilities here at Sunken Diamond. Can the Huskies even things up, or can Stanford take a 2-0 lead in this series? One way to find out. Join us for it here on ACC Network Extra. We'll fire it up. And of course, the first pitch at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time, right here from Sunken Diamond. Time of the night's game, 2 hours and 35 minutes. He had 1,553 in the house on a gorgeous 67-degree afternoon here on the farm. Matt Scott with the win. 2-0 on the season.
2-0
Max Banks
leading
pitched well overall,
bottom
but
of the
couldn't
6th
quite
inning.
recover from the early mistake to Trevor Haskins. He gets the loss and falls to 1-1, and Aiden Keenan with save number 2 on the season. Game 2 of this series tomorrow. Cardinal and the Huskies. On behalf of our fantastic ACC Network Extra crew, I'm Troy Clardy. Thank you so much for joining us here today from the farm. Once again, the final score, Stanford 2, Washington 0.
Earlier in the game. And now the defense coming to the fore in the top half of the 6th. Rintaro Sasaki, the batter, watches the first pitch. Miss from Banks somewhere for ball 1. Sasaki 0 for 2 today. One ball and no strikes. Takes this one a high strike called, 1-1. Sasaki 6'0", 275. A young man from Japan. Takes this pitch, misses inside, 2-1. And he's actually been with the program for almost a full year now, as he came over in March of last year. Did not join the program, but got started with classes. This one's cracked down the first base line and foul. Count goes to 2-2. So in some ways, Rintaro is a freshman in eligibility only. You could consider this as his second year in the program. Much ballyhooed, already named the Baseball America preseason National Freshman of the Year. Hey, we'll see. The 2-2. Waits on this one and takes it, full count. And a lot of eyes are going to be on this young man, both on this side of the planet and back in Japan as well. Three balls and 2 strikes. Crack down the first base line once again. And foul. So a lot of eyes perhaps on this game back in Japan, where it is 8:49 on Saturday morning. Payoff pitch on the way. Just fouled off. Count stays at 3-2. So good morning to those of you who might be watching us on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. I gotta get some Japanese phrases together for play-by-play. Got a couple already. 3-2 pitch again, inside. Rintaro takes it. So Sasaki on base for his first time in this game. Brings up Charlie Som. Walked in the first, grounded out to end the third. Banks has worked 5+. That's his third walk of the afternoon. He has struck out 2. Now throwing 76 pitches. The Husky bullpen is quiet. Brings up Charlie Som. Walked in the first, grounded out to end the third. Banks has worked 5+. That's his third walk of the afternoon. He has struck out 2. Rintaro Sasaki, the batter, on 76 pitches. Miss from Banks somewhere. Is quiet for the moment. Ball 1. Sasaki 0 for 2 today. Slider low and outside for ball 1 to Som. Ball and no strikes. But certainly the attention that's going to be on this program. We've already seen it. Sasaki 6'0", 270. Sasaki being here on campus. Got a bit of a taste of it last year, but we're going to be fully immersed in it now this year. There is a documentary crew following Sasaki around, and he's actually been with the program for almost a full year now. That might be a multi-year project from what I understand. Last year, did not join the program. Certainly they're following him around. They're getting stories from his teammates as well. First base line and foul. Count goes to 2-2. Certainly something unprecedented. Someone coming from Japan and coming to an American college, trying to take that path to the big leagues. You could consider this as his second year in the program. Breaking ball floats over 2-1. Much ballyhooed, already named the Baseball America. Charlie Som, his national freshman, quite well. Hey, we'll see. The 2-2. Som at the plate now, about to face the 2-1 from Banks. In front of him, just bounced off 2-2. Both on this side of the planet and back in Japan as well. I believe Sasaki's dad is here today. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Crack down the first base line once again. Premier high school coaches in Japan. Foul. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Floats and just misses. 3-2. Perhaps on this game back in Japan, where it is 8:49 on Saturday morning. Payoff pitch on the way. Sasaki at first after the walk. Season 3-2 pitch from Banks. High. So good morning to those of you. Walk to Psalm, so everyone is okay. Pacific Ocean. Back-to-back walks to lead off the sixth. Play-by-play. And a couple. And that might get some action going in the Husky bullpen. So Sasaki on base for his first time in this game. With some soft tosses by right-handed pitcher. Again, my view of the bullpen is obstructed by one of the light towers, which is directly in my vantage point between here and the bullpen pitcher's mound. As Natai watches the first pitch go over for strike one. Natai popped up to the catcher to end the first and singled to begin the fourth. Banks with his third and his fourth walks of the day as Natai cracks this one down the line, the foul. So the count goes to no balls and 2 strikes. With Sasaki at second and Psalm at first. So if we get clarification on whom is in the Washington bullpen and currently warming up, we'll let you know. I can tell you it's a right-handed pitcher. I know that doesn't narrow it down a whole lot, but that's what I got right now. No balls, 2 strikes. With 2 on and nobody out. Misses low, 1-2. And the 1-2, Natai in front of that one. Natai with experience in the Australian national team system. Grew up in Sydney, but moved to Atlanta along the way. And that's where he learned to play baseball. Atlanta. Hey, I was just there last week. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Popped up, could be playable. Bauer trying to find it. Has a track on it and makes the catch for out number 1. 2 things probably define Sunken Diamond physically more than anything else. 1, it's a gorgeous ballpark. 2, plenty of foul room. And that can be a pitcher's best friend on pop-ups. Maybe not so much on wild pitches and such. Brady Reynolds comes to the plate, struck out in the second, hit into a fielder's choice in the fourth. But I have seen runners score from second on wild pitches in this park on multiple occasions. Reynolds takes the first pitch up high for ball 1. Curveball floats in there for strike 1. Reynolds, the lefty. 7 base hits, 8 RBI last week against Cal State Fullerton. The 1-1. Fastball, swing and a miss. 1-2. The 1-2 pitch. And Reynolds just stays alive. Banks, not the only transfer from Division III on the Washington roster, as Banks is from Chapman University down in Orange County. Julian Sanders is also on the roster for the Huskies. Transferred from Claremont McKenna. Grad transfer from that school. Sanders an outfielder. This one hit right to first, takes a funny hop on Taggart, tries to recover, and does. Everybody else moves up 90 feet. Boy, just kind of took that final hot shot right off Taggart's chest, but he was able to scramble back and make the play. Timo Becerra grounded into a 4-3 double play. That ended the fourth inning. And Connor Lambert, who is the Washington pitching coach, out of the dugout and out to the mound as action continues in the Washington bullpen. Still have not been able to quite make out whom that is. But Banks trying to find a way out of this inning and to keep the Huskies within sight. It's 2-0 right now in the bottom of the sixth and 2 outs. Stanford with 2 runners in scoring position. Cardinal 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position so far in this game. And that trend will likely continue as it's popped up, shallow left. Guerrero calls for it and makes the grab to retire the side. Stanford leaves Sasaki and Sam stranded at third and second respectively. And the Cardinals are still ahead of the Huskies, 2-0 after 6. Start of the 7th inning here at Stanford with the Cardinal leading the Huskies 2-0. Thanks for checking us out, spending some time with us here on ACC Network Extra. Troy Clarity here with you. Stanford turning to a new pitcher to begin the 7th as Matt Scott's afternoon is done. It's Ty Huber, senior from Cameron Park, California, just outside of Sacramento. And Huber about to make his 3rd appearance of the year. Has thrown 3 1/3 innings, has 1 save already to his credit this season, an ERA of 2.7 with a hit, a run. It was earned, one walk, and 2 strikeouts along the way. It's good to see Huber back on the mound after he missed all of 2024 with an injury. First pitch he deals to Jackson Hotchkiss, misses outside. Hotchkiss grounded out in the 2nd. doubled in the fifth. But the Huskies eventually left 3 runners stranded, left them loaded in that fifth inning. So 2 balls and no strikes to Hotchkiss. And now it's 3-0. Effective outing for Matt Scott in the start. 6 shutout innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. Meanwhile, Hotchkiss walks on 4 pitches. So Scott dealt 84 pitches, did his job. Defense backed him up. Trevor Haskins doing the job at the plate. So now David Esker turned into the bullpen, and Ty Huber not off to the start that he would have preferred, walking the first batter that he faces on 4 pitches. Brings up Cooper Witten. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Witten with a couple of strikeouts today. But Witten did reach on a wild pitch on that second strikeout. Later left stranded at second. Swings and misses here. Witten down quickly, 0-2. Huber's made just 1 career appearance against the Huskies coming into the day. You have to go back to May 1st, 2022. He faced 3 batters, all of them reached and scored. No balls and 2 strikes. Backhanded, Som has to go up and get it, but it's enough for Witten to advance on the wild pitch. May 1st, 2022. In some ways, that seems like a long time ago. So Witten now at second. Check that, Hotchkiss at second. Witten's at the plate. And Witten about to face the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Witten down on strikes. 1 away. Carson Crawford struck out in the 3rd, walked in the 5th. Stanford bullpen certainly got its share of work during the 4-game series last week, as a couple of Stanford starters didn't make it into the 3rd inning, I should say. This one bounces down the 3rd base line, but foul. But the bullpen able to steady things when necessary, keep the Titans at bay, and in some cases allow Stanford a chance to get back in the game, come back and win, as the Cardinals did twice against the Titans. Filthy slider there by Huber. Swing and a miss, strike 2. Nothing in 2. The pitch. Thinks about it. Appeal to the first base umpire, Robert Hansen. Says nope. Count goes to 1-2. Stanford really struggled with walks last year in particular. So pitching staff just misses, maybe a little bit high, 2-2. Stanford's strikeout to walk ratio 1.78 last year, 10th in the 11-team Pac-12 last season. The 2-2. Travels outside, count full. Crawford swings and misses, strike 3. So a leadoff walk, Now back-to-back strikeouts. And the Huskies, who have developed a bad habit of leaving runners on base the last few innings, perhaps in danger of having it happen to them again. Had a pinch hitter coming in the 9 spot for the Huskies. It's Colin Blanchard, a redshirt junior from Ladera Ranch, California. As he comes on with Hotchkiss at second after the leadoff walk and advanced to second on a wild pitch. Cranks that one, rolling harmlessly towards the Stanford dugout for strike one. Blanchard 0 for 3 on the season this year with a couple of strikeouts. Swing and a miss on the breaking ball. No balls and 2 strikes. Ty Huber got the save. The second game on Saturday last week in his first game back from injury. The 0-2 pitch hit right to second. Nadai to Sasaki, and the side is retired. Huber recovers from the leadoff walk. Stanford still ahead 2-0 as we head to the 7th inning stretch here at Sunken Diamond. You stand and stretch at home too on the ACC Network Extra. Bottom of the 7th inning begins with a new pitcher for the Washington Huskies. Stanford is ahead 2-0. It's Jackson Thomas who is on the mound, replacing Max Banks, the starter who went 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, both earned, 5 hits, 4 walks, and 2 strikeouts in 93 pitches. First pitch from Jackson Thomas is nubbed off for strike 1 to Charlie Bates, who has hit a couple of triples so far today. Bates with 4 hits this season, 3 of them have been triples. Thomas making his second appearance of the year through 3 shutout innings against St. Joseph's on Saturday. Struck out 4 and walked 2 along the way. Thomas, a senior from Mesa, Arizona, transferred from Utah Valley. So Eddie Smith very familiar with this young man he deals a breaking ball down low, 1-2, as it goes over for a called strike. Bates, the freshman, takes this one well outside, 2-2. Thomas, last year for Utah Valley, appeared in 12 games, started 5, and had a record of 3-1. This is his 4th different school in 4 years. A couple at the JUCO level. And then Utah Valley last year, as Bates digs this one out, and it rolls to the track. Bates won't think about 3 here again, will he? No, he holds up for a double. Says keep the party going. Boy, Charlie Bates, triple, double. That'll help your slugging percentage. And that brings up Luke Lavin. Lavin grounded out in the 2nd and walked in the 5th. So Bates continues to impress. As Lavin at the plate, shows bunt, but then has to hightail it out of there in self-defense, most likely. 1 ball and no strikes to Lavin. Lavin in the 9 spot for the Cardinal. The bunt rolls foul. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bates has done his share, but to this point in this game, the true damage has been done by Trevor Haskins, the leadoff spot, and he's in the on-deck circle right now. The 1-1 pitch. Swing and a miss on the fastball, 1-2. And with the lion's share of attention on the Stanford freshman focused on Rentaro Sasaki, and rightfully so. And oh, by the way, he's earned it still to this point.
I hate you.
Tatum Marsh and Charlie Bates have more than held up their end of the deal. Lavin swings and misses on the breaking ball, strike 3. So Bates remains at 2nd. He hopes for the moment as Trevor Haskins comes to the plate. Solo home run on the first pitch he saw in the afternoon. Then a double in the 3rd, and then a sac fly RBI in the 5th. That's been Haskins' day. As he hits that one to short, DeCarlo off the heel of his glove, and he can't get it back. So Haskins safe at first. And that means 2 on and 1 out for Tatum Marsh. Marsh with a couple of ground outs and a strikeout so far in this one. Runners at first and second. The pitch inside for ball 1. That was deemed E6, by the way, on that last play. The error by DeCarlo. Curve catches the upper part of the zone, evens out the count. Got 1 apiece. And that hits him. And that loads him up for Rentaro Sasaki. Sasaki making sure his bat is in order. He is satisfied. And now he strides up to the plate. Sasaki 0 for 2 with a pop out and a ground out. He walked to lead off the 6th, but Stanford couldn't do anything with it. Bit of a shift on for the UW infield. As Sasaki watches the first pitch of breaking ball go over for called strike 1. Trevor Cole, the UW third baseman, the only infielder between second and third. Swing and a miss by Sasaki, strike 2. Two on and 1 out. No balls and 2 strikes. The pitch. Doesn't go for it. Tells everyone to stay put. And they do. So the bases are loaded. Bates at third. Haskins at second. Marsh at first. The 1-2 pitch goes around. And Sasaki says, oh, darn it. So the strikeout swinging. 2 outs. Base is still loaded. And Charlie Som comes to the plate. Som has walked twice. We've got Connor Lambert, the Huskies pitching coach, heading to the mound. There has been action for UW in their bullpen while all of this has been going on. And that will do it for Jackson Thomas, who works 2/3 of an inning. And UW will turn to their third different pitcher of the day and their second different pitcher of this inning. We'll tell you about him in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. 2-0 Stanford with the lead and with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 7th here on ACC Network Extra. Bases loaded, 2 out, bottom 7th, Stanford up 2-0, and Sawyer Parkin is the new pitcher for the Huskies. Parkin, a senior from Vancouver, Washington, and the righty about to make his second appearance of the year. 2/3, gave up a hit, did not give up an earned run during his only other appearance so far this season. Charlie Bates led things off here in the 7th with a double. Strikeout by Luke Labb, and then a fielding error on UW shortstop Sam DiCarlo. And then Marsh was hit by a pitch. So Bates at third, Haskins at second, Marsh at first. And the first pitch to Som travels just outside for ball one. Taro Sasaki tried to hold up on a pitch, but could not. He went over and he struck out. That was the last batter. Som, foul tip into Fowler's glove, 1-1. That one's pumped in there, 1-2. Som would love to get an RBI in 5 straight games. He's sitting at 4 right now. Won't happen here. Swing and a miss, strike 3. And Parkin forces Stanford to leave him loaded. 2-0. Stanford still with the lead over Washington after 7 innings of play. Two nothing our score. Stanford hanging on to the lead over the Washington Huskies as we head to the 8th. Top of the order for Washington with Sam DiCarlo, who singled in the 4th. Starting things off for the Huskies, Ty Huber on the mound. Has now worked an inning plus as he deals the fastball that misses just outside for ball 1. It's been 2-0 since Trevor Haskins' sac fly RBI in the 5th inning. Swing and a miss, 1-1. But not for a lack of trying by both teams, as the Huskies left him loaded in the 5th, left 2 on in the 6th, and left a man at second in the 7th. That's a slider, 1-2 now, the count on DiCarlo. Meanwhile, Stanford could not take advantage of back-to-back leadoff walks in the 6th. Left 2 stranded there. Left him loaded in the 7th. 1-2, and this one's nubbed. Huber up with it, and over the first in time for the out. Huber just kind of had to corkscrew there a bit as he reached down with all of his 6'4", 249 frame, moving to the right, twisting back, grabbing it with his bare hand, and getting it over the first in time for the out. That's not easy. That takes a whole lot of coordination that a lot of people don't possess. A.J. Guerrero at the plate. He's 1 for 3, singled in his last plate appearance. Cranks this one high in the air to center. Bates in the shadows makes the catch. Colton Bauer, 1 for 3 with a double in the 6th inning. Hey, how about this from Stanford softball, participating in the Hillenbrand Invitational down in Tucson. No-hitter, I believe, yesterday against UC Davis, and then today, they took down number 1 Texas and did so convincingly. As there's a curveball high and inside the Bowser for ball 1. 9-5 was the final for the Cardinal over the Texas Longhorns. Again, the Longhorns, number 1 in the country. Weaver pumps that one in there. 1 ball and 1 strike. Stanford had pretty much steamrolled its first 10 games. But the level of competition, nowhere near the number 1 team in the country. But perhaps today's result opening up some eyes for Stanford softball. 2-1 the count. Allie Clements with a couple of home runs. River Mailer driving into game-winning runs in the 6th. Outside corner, strike 2 called on Bauer. So that's a big, big win for Stanford softball. They'll also face the host Arizona Wildcats in a flashback series there of sorts. That'll be fun. The 2-2. Thinks about it and should have gone for it. Strike 3 called. And Ty Huber is fired up. 3 up, 3 down. Bottom of the 8th awaits. Stanford ahead 2-0. A couple of changes for the Washington Huskies. One that actually happened back in the bottom of the 7th inning that we failed to note, as Matthew Henning has replaced Blake Wilson at second base for Washington. Wilson was pinch hit for in the top half of the 7th inning. So Matthew Henning has been in at second and is still there. But now there's a new pitcher for the Huskies. Their 4th of the day, Jace Evangelista, sophomore from Riverside, California. And Jace, making a second appearance of the year, has an ERA of 6.75. Gave up a run in an inning and a third of work against Coastal Carolina on Sunday. And also got saddled with the loss. Struck out 2 of the Chanticleers. 2-0 Stanford, bottom of the 8th. That time with the leadoff single in the 4th. 1 for 3 overall. Evangelista pumps the first pitch over for a called strike 1. Evangelista appeared in 11 games for the Huskies last year. 21 2/3 and struck out 22. The ERA just south of 5. Fastball misses outside. Count goes to 1 ball and 1 strike. Evangelista, one of the returners for the Huskies. Crack to short. On the ground to DeCarlo, with a throw to first in time. 21 newcomers overall for the Huskies on their roster this year. So, new coach, new players, course, roster churn has accelerated a bit across all college sports, thanks to that little thing called the transfer portal over the last couple of years in particular. A lot of new faces on the Huskies. This 2025 season is now 4+ games old. Brady Reynolds looking for his first base hit of the day. It's a breaking ball upstairs for ball. Check that for strike one. 1-1 to Reynolds. Hit .214 for the Cardinal in his freshman year last season. Off speed again, 1-2. The high strike called from home plate umpire Adam Dowdy. One-two pitch. I think that might have caught Dowdy, the home plate umpire, on the foot. As he's kind of hopping around like that caught him. The 1-2 pitch just fouled off again. Card left 2-1 in the 6th, left him loaded in the 7th. And they've had chances to break this game wide open, but haven't been able to find that extra base hit. That's high, 2-2. Of note, both teams combined with runners in scoring position, 0 for 18. Swing and a miss, and Reynolds down on strikes. As Evangelista rears back and deals the fastball. Timo Becerra hit into a double play in the 4th. Flew out to left back in the 6th. Popped up, playable. Taggart backing up just beyond the lip of the grass, and he makes the catch for the 3rd out. Comes down to the top half of the 9th. Taggart, Cole, Hotchkiss, the 4, 5, 6 hitters due up for the Huskies. Stanford trying to close out a 2-0 lead. Stanford leading Washington 2-0 as we turn to the top of the 9th inning. And the Cardinal turn to Aiden Keenan, a sophomore from Morgan Hill, just down the road from us here on the farm. Keenan about to make his 3rd appearance of the year. He's 1-0 and also has a save on the season already. 2 1/3 innings pitched with just 1 walk along the way. Is not allowed a hit so far in this season. Keenan went an inning in the 3rd scoreless on Monday. Walked one, but got the win. Also dealt a 3-out save against the Titans on Sunday. So Keenan in a save situation here. Stanford has been up 2-0 since the 5th inning. The top of the ninth begins with Kason Taggart. Taggart watches the first pitch high and outside for ball 1. Taggart 0 for 3 with a couple groundouts and a strikeout. Stanford was up 1-0 on the first pitch of the bottom of the first. Trevor Haskins, the solo home run. The Cardinals have been in the lead since that point. 2-0 the count now to Taggart. With Aiden Keenan, who pitched an inning and 2/3 of relief against the Huskies on March 10th of last year. Walked 3 and struck out 1, no decision that day. That one's pumped down palm drive, 2-1. Keenan appeared in just 5 games last year. Seen much more of a role so far this season. 2-1. Fastball inside corner, 2-2. David Esker said before the season that one of his priorities, trying to figure out and find out who's got that slow heartbeat to give you your last 3 outs of a ball game. Keenan trying to be that guy. The 2-2. Well high, 3-2. Taggart with home runs in back-to-back games entering today. Boy, he'd love to make it 3 in a row. Pops it up, playable. Becerra called off, and drifting in, Marsh makes the chest-high grab. Brings up Trevor Cole. Only a terrific throw by Becerra at short prevented Cole from reaching via a single in the 6th inning. He takes a big hack at this one. Foul tips into Som's glove. 0-1. No balls and 1 strike. Thinks about it. Goes around, according to Adam Dowdy. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Huskies down to their last out. UW batters have struck out 14 times this afternoon. Jackson Hotchkiss doubled in the 5th, walked in the 7th. Comes down to him. Fastball on the outside corner, strike 1. Misses low and outside. Keenan first committed to Cal, but then flipped to Stanford along the way. He also turned down the MLB draft, as some had it going in the top 3 rounds coming out of high school. 1-1. Robert Hansen, the first base umpire, says nope. He held up, 2-1. Shadows lengthening, creeping across Klein Field here at Sunken Diamond. 2-1. Now 2-2. Huskies down to their last strike. The 2-2 pitch.
Breaking ball, misses low. Cooper Witten on deck should his services be needed. The payoff pitch, hit to center. Bates with a beat on it, he makes the catch, and that's your ball game. Trevor Haskins with the home run to start it, and then defense and pitching from there to end it, and the Cardinal beat the Washington Huskies. The final score, Stanford 2, Washington 0. Stanford is now 5-0 to begin the 2025 campaign. The Huskies fall to 2-3. Stanford's stars include Trevor Haskins, the solo home run on the very first pitch that he saw, the leadoff shot in the bottom of the first, putting Stanford ahead as it turned out to stay 1-0 at that point. And then Haskins with the sac fly RBI in the bottom half of the fifth inning, driving in Charlie Bates, who tripled twice and also hit a double as well. But that sac fly RBI and the solo home run by Haskins, the only 2 runs that Stanford needed this afternoon, as Matt Scott pitched quite well for himself. 6 shutout innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. Ty Huber with 3 strikeouts and 2 innings of work out of the bullpen. And Aiden Keenan comes in and closes it down for his second save of the season. So Haskins, Bates, along with Scott and Keenan, helping to lead the way for the Cardinal in victory here against the Washington Huskies. Game 2 of this series will happen tomorrow on Saturday, right here on ACC Network Extra. 2:05 p.m. Pacific Time, first pitch between Stanford and Washington, with your probables Riley McAdams for the Huskies and Christian Lim for the Stanford Cardinal. Good to see Stanford versus Washington renewing hostilities here at Sunken Diamond. Can the Huskies even things up, or can Stanford take a 2-0 lead in this series? One way to find out. Join us for it here on ACC Network Extra. We'll fire it up, and of course the first pitch at 2:05 p.m. Pacific Time, right here from Sunken Diamond. Time of the night's game, 2 hours and 35 minutes. You had 1,553 in the house on a gorgeous 67-degree afternoon here on the farm. Matt Scott with the win, 2-0 on the season. Max Banks pitched well overall, but couldn't quite recover from the early mistake to Trevor Haskins. He gets the loss and falls to 1-1, and Aiden Keenan with save number 2 on the season. Game 2 of this series tomorrow, Cardinal and the Huskies. On behalf of our fantastic ACC Network Extra crew, I'm Troy Clarity. Thank you so much for joining us here today from the farm. Once again, the final score, Stanford 2, Washington 0.